3 Americans, 2 political parties, talking about one terminal diagnosis. This is political malpractice. Welcome back, everybody, to Political Malpractice. It has been a jam-packed week for us. I didn't even know where to start when creating our agenda. So we're going to start with this. We have a wonderful Facebook friend, I guess we'll call them, who commented on one of our videos, Chris, on Political
Oh, fun.
Malpractice's Facebook. Yeah. And Sue took it upon herself to say that the Dems are the fascists. I don't think that people know definitions. Maybe we need to have a little, civics explainer episode that we put out. But I did invite her to come on. If you think that we're the fascists, come on,
Right.
discuss your viewpoint. This isn't a one-way street. If you have comments, if you think that you can contribute, even if it's for 2 minutes, we're happy to have you on the podcast. But she said no.
For sure.
So she's not willing to, put her money where her mouth is. So I just thought we'd give Sue a little
first of
shout
all,
out.
the very fact that she would say something, and I thought that was funny too. The very fact that she would say something about the Dems are fascists. It's like, I'm sorry, the average Democratic voter is not some sort of fascist. I was like, now I do believe in the horseshoe theory, and I think you can go far enough left that you'll loop right back around to being a right winger again. But but that's not your average Democrat.
No, what kills me is the definitions. People in another podcast that I watch, one of the people on the podcast is constantly conflating fascism and communism and getting the two confused. And it's like, dude, you would not be at risk for a stroke if you just knew your basic definitions. That's it.
Yeah.
The stroke risk would decrease. So the other nice little tidbit that I found this week, our resident psycho MAGA, Valentina Gomez, lost her primary in Texas.
I was so
The
sad about
scary-
that. Did you see my post where it was so sad about that? Oh my God. Yeah. She ran in Missouri. She ran in Missouri too. Before she decided that she was a Texan.
So the scary thing, though, is that she still got 10.9% of the vote. It's not enough to win, but it's also not pennies.
Sorry to the Texans out there, but this is proof that Missouri is smarter. She only got about 8% of the vote here, so sorry, guys.
I will agree with you there. I will agree with you. That is rock solid proof that Missouri has more brains than Texas. So, but she is pulling a Donald Trump 2020, and she's crying that there was election fraud, because why wouldn't you vote for a lady? Why wouldn't you vote for a lady that uses a fire thrower to burn things? Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Christ.
At first, when she was a little bit more tame, I thought it was kind of funny and just kind of giggled at it and everything. But once I actually talked to the woman on the phone and everything, I'm just like, ugh. So yeah, I have personal experience with Valentina Gomez. She's an interesting character. So
She's
go ahead and
a little bit crazy.
not just a little bit. Actually, she's not crazy. She's very intelligent. Here's the thing. She's going after the low information voters.
Yeah. I think that maybe she would have a fighting chance if she got serious, talked like a professional, acted like a freaking adult.
Right.
Instead of going for the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Before we dive headfirst into this Iraq nonsense or Iran nonsense, there were some other weird things that kind of slipped through the news because of Iran. Melania addressed the UN Security Council in place of Donald Trump.
Oh yeah.
That has never happened the spouses of world leaders have addressed smaller committees and things like that. Maybe they've given a speech at the Security Council. She presided over it, almost as if this was, I don't know, an authoritarian regime where you just accept whoever dear leader sends and you treat them
That
like
that's
him.
actually that's kind of funny that you took it that way because I took it a little bit differently. Not that it was particularly flattering the way I took it either, but it was it, I just kind of took it as, just part of his personality where it's like I'm too important for even the UN. So what I'm gonna do is send the signal to them by sending my wife.
It
Just because it goes along with his MO. He's got an ego through the freaking roof, you
Oh,
know?
yeah. Oh, yeah, and if his wife was the least bit articulate, then I could've maybe seen it that way, but she's not articulate. She and at risk of sounding like a friggin' MAGA, and the only reason I say this is because this is their chanting line here, you know? She hasn't even really bothered to learn English. I
Oh,
personally
but
don't give a shit. Consistently speak your native language, my feelings aren't hurt. But that is their chanting line.
but baby, don't you know that Donald does not care?
What?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna go there because 'cause I'm a politically incorrect bastard. So, don't you know that Donald doesn't really care about who shows up? Because he doesn't. He really doesn't, you
You
know?
sound Jamaican, you don't even sound like Melania.
Well, no, I can't. I can't do it, because it's my fucking Midwestern accent gets in the way. I can hear it myself.
Now
I'm like, "Yep, you're not doing it, Chris. You're not doing it." But you get the gist.
now, do we think that she's trying to sound sophisticated, which is why she might play heavy on her accent? Does she think it sounds fancy? Um, or does she just not bother?
I mean, honestly, her accent doesn't really bother me because it's like I don't really care. I mean, she can communicate well enough to be first lady,
Yeah,
I think, which means,
it
basically you really don't have to do shit unless it's something you want to do.
right. I wouldn't
So,
give a rat's ass if she spoke Czech the entire time. She's from the Czech Republic, right? She's or is she
is
from
it Czech
Slovenia?
Republic?
Wherever she's from.
Did you say
I don't know. Where
Transylvania?
No, I said Slovenia. I wouldn't care
I'm going with
what language
Transylvania.
she spoke.
I'm going with Transylvania. Okay, so she's from Transylvania anyway.
I wouldn't care what language she spoke. She could refuse to speak English for all I care. English is a shitty language. It's difficult. Often there are not words available to convey what you're trying to say. But for the MAGA crew who worships the ground that she walks on with her weird lampshade hats, it was odd. She went there and she said that she was challenging the members to, quote, safeguard learning. Okay.
Mhm,
While
mhm.
in the US, we have the WWE's former CEO ripping apart our Department of Education. What the fuck? How are we
Right.
safeguarding learning? By putting fake wrestlers in charge of it? Does she think that, you know, Mahone or whatever her name is, Mac Mahone, whatever, that she's standing in front of schools with like a metal folding chair ready to defend education? Because that's not what's
Right.
fucking happening.
Oh, no, 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 no. I have mixed feelings on the Department of Education as far as that's concerned. I mean, part of it is, because my husband is, very involved in education. He's pretty high up in the school district that he works in. And, federal policy but federal policy is made school districts don't really have to follow it if they don't want to, but if they take the money from the federal government, it's conditional, then they do have to
Right.
follow, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. That is totally fine. But I think that a lot of school districts have realized that the strings attached are becoming a little bit more and more, I don't know, cumbersome is probably the best word.
It There are no more strings though, which is the scary part. A lot of the strings were attached to IEPs and accommodations for students that are somewhere on the autism spectrum, have ADD, various things like that. And you need the money to be able to protect these kids and make sure that they have an education that's conducive to them so that they can keep up with their peers, right? With the federal government annihilating any kind of funding for IEPs, that leaves states that don't have money dropping their kids on their asses.
Yeah.
In
Oh, yeah, for
California, we
sure.
have money. New York has money. Minnesota has money. They can, to a degree, come in and cover and protect the kids. But you've got states like Louisiana and Georgia and Alabama. They don't have that money. What's going to happen to those kids? It's statistical fact that you have more learning difficulties when you're in a lower poverty bracket, and that's Louisiana,
Sure.
Alabama, Georgia, Arkansas. So there is more need in those states. Yet MAGA is applauding removing these federal protections and federal money from their schools.
Well, I'm not exactly applauding it. I mean, it's with a little hesitation that I say what I'm saying. But generally speaking, I think that it would be best if states handled education altogether. Now, mind you, this is not really like some stupid, superfluous states' rights argument or anything like that, because I know that Republicans don't believe in actual states' rights. I mean, once the state doesn't do what they want, then they want it lowered down to the community level, down to, somebody's latrine, you know. And but I am making a case that I think that, the leaders within a state probably have a better idea of the needs of the kids. Ideally, let's put it this way, it's ideal, have a better idea of the needs of the kids in that state than the federal government does. So it would be nice if those states like that you were talking about, like Alabama, Mississippi, stuff like that, if they, could have invested more in their own school districts as opposed to possibly paying taxes that towards a federal program that may have not benefited
It
them. But I don't know.
I I would agree that would be nice, but Alabama historically prefers prisons. They prefer to
Right.
build new prisons every time the desire rises. And so they don't focus in schools. But let's move on. That was my
Yeah, yeah,
weird,
yeah. I
Melania,
know
what the hell are you
it's a
saying?
rabbit hole you could go down all day long on for sure.
Exactly. So we have Senor Hegseth, and I hope that this is the right
Just
video.
love him to
But
pieces. Just love him. Just kidding.
we
Just
we have Senor Hegseth losing his shit.
America, regardless of what so-called international institutions say, is unleashing the most lethal and precise air power campaign in history. B-2s, fighters, drones, missiles, and of course, classified effects, all on our terms with maximum authorities. No stupid rules of engagement, no nation building quagmire, no democracy building exercise, no politically correct wars. We fight to win and we don't waste time or lives.
So that was wonderful Hegseth, who has multiple Christian nationalist tattoos. He wrote a book called The American Crusade, calling for a modern holy war against Muslims. He chanted, "Kill all Muslims," while drunk at a veterans event in 2015. Because of his tattoos, The military barred him from Biden's inauguration. He couldn't work it because they considered him an internal threat because of all of his tattoos. In 2018, he said, "There's no reason why the miracle of reestablishing the temple on the Temple Mount isn't possible," indicating that the mosque that currently stands there should be destroyed in favor of Israel. His spiritual mentor, Doug Wilson, states that non-Christians shouldn't hold positions of leadership, states that gays should be exiled or executed, and states that the 19th Amendment should be repealed.
Hmm.
That
Hmm.
is Hegseth,
Yeah,
our
he
whiskey.
he's one of them that, I don't know if you can pull it up on the screen, but, he's one of them that I've started calling the woke right. I think I sent you that post.
Oh, yeah, 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 I can pull up your post. Let
Yeah,
me
at least just the image.
Yeah, yeah,
So, because one of their favorite things when they're going off about Muslims is talk about, like, well, Christians aren't going to kill you. And so, yeah, okay, fine. I
yeah.
believe that that's generally true. But it is really like what my post says, "Hey, homo, at least we won't try to kill you." Well, fucking thank you for your generosity. I mean, my God, that is quite literally the least you can do.
It I don't think that at this point in time, they're not going I think that at this point in time, they will refrain from trying to kill us. If the current political group stays in control and if there is no severe pushback and I don't know, I I hesitate to say annihilation because then I sound like them, but there needs to be an extreme lesson for them to learn. They need to be held away from political control for at least 2 generations, because if they're not, their next resurgence, they will try to kill us. I absolutely believe that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not there yet, obviously with what I said, but I hear your point. Um I just I think that it's definitely something that is worthwhile to keep an eye on. Obviously, I have a lot of gay people who follow me that call themselves homocons, the conservative gays and stuff like that. And, I mean, I do generally start finding a lot of um, troubling beliefs brewing among especially that group of gay men that call themselves, conservative gays. There's a lot of like almost like this type of self-flagellation going on, you know.
It's
Well, they basically just, it's like they kind of hate themselves to a certain degree and they're looking for some sort of acceptance. I mean, I know people gay people who have refused to get married because their church doesn't allow it. And they're going along with this shit. And I'm just
it
like, okay, that's fine. That's your personal choice, but wow. You
I
kind
feel
of screw
like
it up. Go ahead.
I feel like the rise of the log cabin Republicans and the ultra conservative gay side, they're like resurrecting the Opus Dei. You're somehow punishing yourself here on earth because of the way that your God made you, hoping that maybe you're not going to get punished when you die because you still think that being gay is worthy of being sent to hell for eternity? Why?
And I do need to stress, it's not all of them. Many of them are very
No,
level-headed. They're, a lot of them are very level-headed, but there is still an alarming amount who do
it
go along with this.
I don't
Which
have a
even at my
problem
most
with
conservative moments, I never did that, by the way. Never ever did
it.
that.
I don't have I don't have a problem with normal conservatives. I understand, fiscal reluctance. You don't want to spend all kinds of federal money, power to the states, things like that. I understand having that view. Right now, we are, I don't know, 30 some $1 trillion in debt, and it's not going to get any
Right.
better. Um, so I understand it. Do I agree with it? No. I think that we could spend our money much better. I think that we could go back to the 1940s to 1970s style of taxation where billionaires and trillionaires and ultra millionaires are taxed at a 90% bracket. And it's not going to wipe out the debt in one single year. It's going to take several decades. But that's the more feasible way to do it instead of continually giving them tax breaks. We learned that trickle down economics do not work, you know?
Right.
But we still
Right.
keep trying. I think that's the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over again, thinking that you're gonna have a different result.
Yeah, never really bought into trickle down economics. That was something that always kind of bothered me anyway. I mean, we see
Mhm.
all this corporate welfare coming out from Republicans and Democrats as well.
Yep.
But the thing is we see all this welfare for millionaires and billionaires as well. It's not that 90% tax bracket, by the way, guys, for those of you who don't know, is not 90% of their total income. Okay. It's not that
No.
bad. It is actually 90% of a certain percentage of their income.
It
So it's not going to
the
drive
way
them
I
out of this country. They're still going to be rich as fuck.
No. The way I understand, and I have a very limited understanding when it comes to taxes and things like that. My brain, like, short circuits. I don't like it. Um, but it's, for this amount of money that you have, you're taxed so much percent. And then this much above, you're taxed so much percent. And then this much above, you're taxed so much percent. It steps
Yep.
up. And that 90% hits when you're way up high,
Hmm.
you're hundreds of millions that your average Walmart worker or tractor driver in Arkansas is never going to be there. Not even when you win the lotto. And they don't understand that when they win the lotto and they get $100 million, guess what, Arkansas tractor driver? You're getting 33% of that ripped away from you right from the get go. They don't even tax Bezos like that. They're
Right.
taxing the dirt poor blue collar worker who happens to get lucky and win the fucking lotto more than they're taxing Bezos and Musk and Teal and all those guys. And they
Right.
don't understand. They think that if I just drive my tractor 80 hours a week for 15 years, I can be rich like Peter Thiel. No, you can't.
Right.
It's never gonna fucking happen. Not even if you win the
Yeah,
lotto.
I don't know. I mean, I at one point in time I did think that that's what they were thinking. But I'm not so sure it's that. They have been kind of like brainwashed into this sort of like idea of fairness where it's like they don't see that the fairness actually isn't working in their favor. It's actually very unfair to them.
It
So they
I
they don't
think
wanna
they
be unfair even to wealthy people, which is like, okay,
and not wanting to be quote unfair to wealthy people is permissive to the wealthy to be unfair to them. I think they honestly think, Musk is CEO of 3 companies. He works so hard. He deserves to have his money. Well, guess what, Jack Dick? He is not jumping from 3 different companies and working 20-hour days. He's doing his ketamine. He's doing coke. He's shooting up heroin. He's taking ecstasy. And he's rolling around in his self-driving Tesla, fucking off every day. Point blank, period. Every fucking day. He is not working hard.
well, CEOs do usually have, it seems like all the time in the world to, make public appearances and stuff like that. So, I mean, if it's that easy for you to make public appearances when and whenever you want to, then I'm kind of guessing you're not working that hard.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on. So I know that we were serious, half serious, not totally hyperbolic last week when we were talking about, evangelicals don't want to protect America from Sharia law. They want to institute evangelical law. Do I believe that that is the deal? Yes, a small percentage of them, but a big enough percentage that I can make fun of the entirety of them, right?
Right. I don't
I
think it's an immediate
they
threat. No.
well, I didn't. This is the fourth time since he's been president this year that this has
We
happened.
are honored to come before your presence today.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Of our president. We pray for your continued blessing and favor to rest upon him. We pray for wisdom from heaven.
I don't know why that's
to
so loud.
flood his heart, his mind, and Lord, you will guide him in these challenging times that we're facing today. I pray for your grace and your protection over him.
Why?
Well, I posted about this too. I mean, actually, I conveniently used some New Testament scripture to refute the idea of praying in public because Jesus
You
specifically
pray,
commands you not to do
yes,
that.
pray in private, lest you be like the Pharisees and Sadducees,
Yeah,
crying on the corner, throwing ashes on themselves. You
you
don't
got
do
it
this.
right.
You
And so
don't
I
do this.
I certainly had something to say about it. No, I mean, I just don't think that the extreme version is right around the corner. The extreme version of like some of the stuff that we have been discussing this week and last week. I don't think it's right around the corner, but it's definitely something worth keeping an eye on
Well,
and pushing back against in its early stages.
we've had in this last week 200 troops spread across 40 units and 30 different military installations, right? So that's a good amount. That's a good amount of soldiers who have put in complaints saying that commanders are urging the NCOs, the non commissioned officers, to tell their troops as it relates to the Iran war. This was all a part of God's divine plan, quoting scripture from Revelation stating that Armageddon must occur so that Jesus Christ will return. They've made comments that Trump is anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to earth. The Iran war is part of God's plan. They have complaints saying that commanders are euphoric when talking about this being a biblically sanctioned war and the undeniable sign of the approach to the end of times, as outlined in Revelation. And commanders are delighted about violence and the graphic nature of the war, hammering home that this must be bloody so that it will be 100% in accordance with the end of the world. One, you're fucking dumb. This whole Armageddon bullshit didn't come around until the 1800s. That's an entirely new concept. Jesus Christ said he was going to return. There was never a talk of um, Armageddon. Revelation was someone's fever dream. That's all it was a fever dream.
Well, so okay, I totally understand this is it's completely inappropriate for them to be doing that sort of thing. And I think the only difference is that we're just maybe seeing what they kind of kept amongst themselves being expressed outward a little bit more now. And so I guess that's why I'm like, just based on my own personal experience, I'm like, I don't think this is anything new because I have been in those situations where they didn't know a homosexual Jew was sitting in there.
Mm-hmm.
And to listen to the right wing Christians talk to each other when they thought that I was just one of them was very fascinating to me. And I mean, they are a hateful group of bigots. You know, the But I've still got to say the more extreme right wing ones. I mean, there's lots of
It
people on the right who aren't. But I think it is
it
fascinating because what you're hearing there with those soldiers, though, is what they say to each other in private. It's just now being made public.
which is fine. You can say it to each other in private. You can have conversations. You can even try to convert people, right? The First Amendment protects that. You can try to convert people. The problem comes when you have commanders who are your high-ranking officers telling the NCOs to tell their soldiers, and it's not a simple, "Hey, this is a likely chat topic." It's, "Tell your soldiers this," to get them to
Right.
buy in, right?
No,
And now
sure.
we've
And
got a
I dis
violation. Well, now
like
we've
I
got a
said, I
violation.
disagree with it. Yeah, like I said, I disagree with it. Don't get me wrong, for sure.
It's
Yeah, my
it's
my main
terrifying.
thing is it's just it's not new, and I guess I'm thinking of it from the standpoint of someone who was on the conservative side solidly, and I'm just realizing the amount of denial it took within myself in order to tolerate these people. And now when I
It
hear that type of stuff coming back to me, I'm just like, fuck, how did I fucking miss it? How did I miss this shit?
How
You
did you
know,
not barf on the table? How did you not barf on the table?
I
Because
don't
it's either
know.
barf on the table or go ape shit on everybody,
Yeah. Well,
you
I mean,
know?
there was an event that I got up and walked out of because it just got to be too much. And
It's
but
rough.
yeah,
It's rough to say the least. Um, and as a soldier, there are leadership walks a very far line away from the religion of their troops, right? In basic training, I said I was Southern Baptist because the Southern Baptists had homemade Southern mac and cheese, homemade Southern cornbread, and the pastors and all the women in the church would block the drill sergeants from coming in and taking the troops right after the service was over. And they would tell them, "No, drill sergeant, this is fellowship. This is fellowship. They need fellowship." Well, fucking hell, I'm getting me some good food once a week. Hell yeah. And I'm going to get some comfort and some family from these people. And it's
sure,
nice to have someone say nice words to me for an hour,
sure,
and ask me, "How are you doing, honey? Are you okay? Do you guys need anything?" That comfort and that softness was much needed. And I'm sure the drill sergeants knew that I wasn't fucking Southern Baptist.
right,
They knew. But there was a point in time where leadership was hands off insofar as religion was concerned. You have
right,
chaplains that are, assigned to different units, and the chaplains, for the most part, are non denominational so that you don't have to have a Jewish chaplain, you know, I don't know, Southern Baptist chaplain, a Pentecostal chaplain, one for every possible religion that could be in your unit. So they have non
right.
denominational chaplains. But the non denominational chaplains would talk to and care for the atheist soldiers as well. If
Oh,
you were just
sure,
having a shit for balls day and life was horrible and you missed your home, they wouldn't come at you with the Jesus talk. They would come at you with the human talk
oh
you
yeah, for
know?
sure,
And they respected that. There was that respect of somebody else's religion and that deference to it. But now we are flying in the face of the Constitution and totally violating the Establishment Clause and shoving this bullshit 19th century Armageddon theory down soldiers' throats. And the soldiers that complained were Christian soldiers.
yeah.
It
Well,
wasn't the
it
atheists
doesn't
complaining, it
surprise.
wasn't the Muslims.
Well, it doesn't surprise me because, like, I have really tried to go out of my way to stress that a lot of these people are actually very good people, even the ones that are Christian on the right. So let's not paint them with too broad of a brush. But I will definitely say that for me, it's just amazing that that so-called homocon group of people, at least that more of them didn't catch right away how bigoted this group can be.
Mhm.
And surely they set in on some of these conversations just like I did and heard how bigoted they could be. And, I mean, if they suddenly come around and be like, oh, I just didn't know this was going to be this way, I'm going to have to call bullshit because it's like, no, I
Yep.
mean, if
It
you're intellectually honest, you know that you've seen this shit going on for years now.
w when they finally come out of it and say, "I just didn't know. I didn't think. I didn't think it was gonna be me." It God help me, I don't know the actual psychological term, but there is a psychological term for it. Um, and it's seen all throughout history. When the South fell in the Civil War, you had the former slaves who were trying to appease the white Northmen or, the "I used to be poor white South man, but now I'm the rich Southerner." So you've got a population of now freed black slaves who are trying to be the quote good ones. In California in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, when there was a lot of hate against Mexicans, you had a select group of Mexicans who were trying to be the good ones. You know, and it's the good ones who have that stereotypical, Mexicans are such hard workers. So they bust their ass working, trying to be the good ones. You have this rising group of trad wives who are trying to be the good ones. Because if
Hmm.
I'm the good one, they're not going to come after me. And the same with the homocons. I'm the good gay. I'm not getting married because that makes you mad. And I'm saying that it's because I'm bad, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to be the good ones. And we've seen it all through history. People need to
Yeah.
stop trying to be the good ones.
A lot of people misunderstood that about me. For the longest time, even when I was in the middle of my campaign, I specifically had pinned to my profile, by the way, I'm not one of the good ones. Because I went on to say, it's like, yeah, you might like some of the stuff that I have to say about the transgender situation and stuff like that. But I am absolutely 100% in support of same sex marriage, workplace protections, parental rights for gay people, all that type of stuff. So it's like, if you think that I'm one of the good ones and that I'm a self denying gay, then no, I'm not that. And that is what they're
Yeah.
looking for. That's the type of gay person that they're looking for. So I guess really in retrospect, it shouldn't come to as much of a surprise to me that I did get some of the treatment that did get because I was an unapologetic homosexual.
It, and this goes to anybody that's listening. Stop trying to behave. Stop. Do not try to behave and conform and be a good one. It does you no favors because all the only way that you are viewed by the class that you are pandering to is you're viewed as a favored dog until you
Hmm.
misbehave and then you're shot like Christy Nome shot hers. Because that's how they treat dogs and that's how they treat you. When you try to be the good Mexican who's working hard, the good gay who doesn't be outlandish, who doesn't wear rainbows, who doesn't talk about their same sex spouse, who pretends like their gayness doesn't exist, you are nothing more than a favored dog. And that's it.
Uh, it, it is true. And I'll tell you what, I had the audacity because, I mean, I do speak out on trans issues all the time, though it's becoming far less frequent that I do actually even go into that anymore. But when I do talk about it, it's kind of interesting because it's like I tell people, it's like, no, I mean, I talk to trans people who also have the same ideas that I have about, like, especially protecting women and children. And so, it's like, I don't think I'm going out on a limb. And I'll tell you what, I took one of those very same trans friends of mine to this meeting. I'm not going to say their name, but I took them to this meeting, and this friend and me were having like a great time and all that type of stuff, thinking that everything was okay. And those people were just putting on the most elaborate show because my friend isn't exactly passing. Okay. And so they were putting on this elaborate show. Um, and it, and then they were having me constantly come and speak. And then I noticed like the request totally fell off. And this was before I was running for office. They finally, one of them had the guts to tell me, it's like, Chris, you just went too far. You brought that training with you. And I was like, but this person agrees with the stuff that we were saying, or at least that I'm saying. So what's your issue here? So, I mean, theirs was actually based on like true blue, like just out and out transphobia. And I did, as a good
Yeah.
dog, I got shot.
Yeah.
I
And
never
I
spoke
mean,
there again after that happened, by the way.
to take it another step further, yes, your friend might have believed in the same things that they were saying, might have agreed with the things that they were saying, but they were the non-conforming show dog. They were the pet quality dog that gets left at home. They're not pretty enough to come into public and associate with them. And that's how they viewed your friend. And it's
Yeah. Well,
disgusting.
and yeah, it was disgusting because this person is a very good person and I take no issue with them, you know?
Yeah. So moving on, because there we go
Yeah.
off our agenda again.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the war. Gas has gone up 34 to 43 cents a gallon, depending on what, I guess, page you look at, what web page. AAA has the national average up 43 cents in a week. Diesel prices are up 75 cents, and experts predict that prices will go upwards of $4.56 a gallon nationally if the war continues. I thought when Trump ran his campaign, I thought that he said that we had enough oil here in the US. We could drill, baby, drill, and we could be totally self sustaining on oil. Why is our gas prices going up then?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is I actually had this conversation with a bunch of conservatives on a conservative podcast. And um
So
anyway,
that's what you did yesterday. That's why
oh
you
no.
couldn't make it last night.
No, it wasn't last night. No, it was during the week. Um and anyway, it was just kind of funny because I was saying the same thing. And it turns out, meaning I was just saying, well, didn't Trump say that we had enough oil to support ourselves?
Right.
And the Canadian on the show very rightly jumped in and did, pulled up some information. And no, we don't have enough oil to
No.
support ourselves. But the thing that I said to them, I was like, okay, to a certain degree, it doesn't really matter which thing is true. And here's why: because of that free market that y'all love so much. I was like,
Hmm.
the simple fact is, our oil that is produced here is sold to other countries. So therefore, we have to import oil. I was like, if you shut down, nationalize the oil production in this country, it would be a totally different situation. But you guys aren't okay with that.
Yep. The oil barons want to make their money, and
Mhm.
Trump is playing right into them. So I know last week, I don't know if we talked about it on the show so much, but I know before we started recording, you had said that you are kind of torn. You feel like not supporting a war is the same, like it somehow translates to the troops that you're not supporting them. And I know we did talk a little bit about that once we had started recording. And I
Mhm.
had told you, no, not supporting a war does not mean that you're not supporting the troops.
Well, I'm
This
going to be I'm going to
means
be in deference to you because you are the person who was the soldier, not me.
it this is not supporting the troops. So up here in 20 right here, 2026, this was the dignified transfer of the now 6 soldiers that we have had die in this war. This is what Fox News showed their viewers. Fox News said that this was 2026, when really this was not. This was 2026. He wore his fucking merch to a dignified transfer of bodies, soldiers that he had killed in a war that's not sanctioned by the American people, was not, greenlit by Congress. I don't know what he's looking at here. Maybe he realized that his diaper was leaking out the top and maybe poop was staining his shirt the way it did Fox and Friends' couch. I don't know. But whatever he's looking at here, he is reminiscent of a fucking toddler. We have this guy looking off to the side, Melania, and I think maybe this is Bondi with her old haggy eyes. So maybe the soldier's body is somewhere here. Everyone's kind of looking wherever they want to fucking look. He couldn't even take his
Mhm.
fucking hat off. Taking your hat off has been a sign of respect since the beginning of time. And he
Yeah.
couldn't even take his fucking hat off. He had to go and push his march. That is disrespect to the troops.
I think where I as far as since you did bring up the situation with me, I think as far as like where I land on the situation right now, is that quite honestly, I'm not commenting a whole lot on it. I made it very clear in the beginning that I was against the war. That I, didn't support it. That I thought that it could be catastrophic for the United States and, of course, the other people involved as well. Um, but I think at this point, what's done is done. And, I mean, if things really go off the rails, then maybe it's like time for us to say something. I don't know. But I mean, I'm just saying that right now, at the moment, it's like I don't see what I can do other than just, you know, I don't know, just kind of keep quiet, I guess, until I know more.
It so hold on. We've got more videos because this is what's really getting me angry, right? We've never been so disrespected as troops. We've never had a president that was so flippant and careless with our lives. Do I think that Bush was careless? Yes. Was he flippant with his carelessness? No. But now we've got
No, he
this.
very much. I think he
Earlier
actually
today,
did
President
care.
Trump shared
Yeah, he doesn't. Trump does not care.
news that
No,
3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible.
That's the way it is. There's going to be more. That's the way it is. Who cares?
Let's get Barron
And
over there and see
righteous,
if he continues saying that.
exactly. Exactly. So in somewhere between 2022 and 2024, I forget the exact year, um, Congress had voted to make a change to whatever it's called, that thing where all men have to register for the draft when you're
Oh,
18.
Selective Service. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So Congress had made a change in the legislature. Instead of having to go and register yourself, because I remember when I was young that the talk was you had to like go to the post office and fill out a form when once you were 18 to let them know, hey, I'm an 18-year-old male. If you're gonna initiate a draft, I'm here. Um, they made the change that they were registered automatically when they turned 18, right? He's calling this a righteous war. Yeah, you don't have to go register anymore. They have your information, your box is checked, and it's done, which means that conscientious objectors are now registered. It used to be that if you were a conscientious objector, you could state your case and not register. Now you're registered. We have a fucking toddler saying that this is a righteous cause and, oh, well, there's going to be more of you, but cool, thanks for dying, you know, and people who are automatically registered. If he's going to continue this war and he's going to, let's say he initiates the draft, because I've got another interesting video by Lindsey Graham. Iraq is not it. We are not, or Iran. We're not done with Iran. I will not be surprised if they try and initiate a draft. Barron better be on the front fucking lines. He doesn't get to be a fancy officer who sits back here in CENTCOM and sends little messages or controls a drone with a remote control. He better fucking be signed up as an enlisted soldier, 11 Bravo fucker. You are out there on the front lines with a fucking gun. And every senator's son is front lines with a gun. Point blank, period. And I say this as a mom who was a soldier, whose son is a soldier. Your boys before mine. Fuck you. Your boys before mine. That's just how
Yeah.
it is. If you're going to be that careless.
Well, there was a period of time where it was considered, you know, appropriate that if you were a leader of some sort and you were sending other people's men and or younger boys into battle, that you would also send your own sons as well, as kind of like proof that you really stood behind what you actually were doing. But
And that
that
you
doesn't
would
exist
go.
anymore. Yeah.
And that you would go. You
Yeah.
didn't sit back. You went. These are the fuckers that would not go down with the ship. If we were to put them in Titanic, these are the rich dicks who are snatching up kids, pretending that they're theirs just to get a seat in the lifeboat. That's who these guys are. So, back to the
Not
war.
disagreeing.
Russia is supplying weapons to Iran so that they could bomb all their neighboring countries. China is also giving weapons so that Iran can defend themselves against US and Israel. So we have the makings of World War III. Everybody's lining up. Everybody's picking their sides. Russia's a little
Well,
torn, you know?
well, I mean, the thing is like, I've been saying for the past few weeks that, I suspect that this is over oil, but the angle that I hadn't really thought about, that this is what I think it ultimately is that this is going to be a way to help starve China from some of their oil. So ultimately, it still
It
goes back to being about oil, but they get like 15% of their oil. That would cause their markets to go crazy if that supply just suddenly went away.
So China's already internalizing. They're not shipping anything out. They're holding all of their production as far as like energy stuff is concerned. They're going to starve us before we manage to starve them. Bibi crybaby Netanyahu, while we've got our commanders preaching the evangelical Armageddon, Netanyahu is screaming to his soldiers about their Jewish version of Revelations, the story of
Yeah.
Amalek. He's screaming that to them, saying that God tells us that we have to kill every man, woman, and child and animal in pagan nations that have attacked us. And that's his justification. Oil, I think, is second or third, maybe third or fourth on the list. This is Netanyahu's holy war.
Oh,
And
yeah, Netanyahu
Trump
doesn't give
bought
a
it.
rip of well, I think it's two things can be true at the same time. I think that this is definitely a war that Netanyahu wanted, and he definitely wanted
Hmm.
the United States involved in some sort of way. But at the same time, the United States doesn't do anything altruistically. There's always
No.
something in it for the wealthy people here. So that's where
Yeah.
I'm saying that I think that starving China of some of its oil was probably the United States' main interest there.
Yeah. I mean, Trump has workshopped every excuse under the sun to the American people. He told the Washington Post that the aim of this war was to free the people of Iran. Oh, you're carpet bombing them, motherfucker. Are you freeing them of their mortal shell? Is that what you meant by freeing the people of Iran? Because that's what you're fucking doing, you dumbass. He told Axios that maybe in 2 or 3 days we can end this with a deal. Your leaders are saying that a hopeful end date would be September. They're not thinking it's going to end in September. They're thinking it's going to go longer. He told the New York Times maybe 4 or 5 weeks. He has 3 very good choices to replace the Ayatollah, but then he killed those choices with his carpet bombing, right? He told ABC, never mind, we killed those choices that we had. The fuck? He told in an interview with Jonathan Karl, he asked him, how do you like the performance in reference to the war in Iran? And he told Time magazine, we expect some things. Like I said, some people will die. When you go to war, some people will die. Trump doesn't know why he's doing this. I will say that. Our commander in chief has no clue what the fuck's going on other than everybody's talking about him. And they're not talking about him in relation to the Epstein files, which makes him very happy.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, that's certainly a spin
as
that even certain MAGA people have actually come up with.
what, as a cover up to the Epstein files?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck yeah. That's
yeah,
absolutely one of the reasons why he is fully behind this.
yeah. Even MAGA is kind of coming around to that to a certain degree. At least some of them are.
Yeah. You know, we went into this with no plan. No plan. Tens of thousands of Americans are stuck in the Middle East. They call to try and get help from their country to get out of an area that we are bombing, and they're met with a voicemail. Hey, sorry, we can't get you out of there. Try and find a commercial flight. When all flights are grounded, because no commercial airline is going to go up when there's fighter jets all over the place. They're not going to do
Nope.
that,
Nope.
you know? I don't know if we talked about this last week. Kuwait shot down 3 of our jets in mistaken friendly fire.
Oh yeah, we did not talk about that, but yeah, I saw. Yes, I saw
Yeah.
the news about that. Yeah.
You know, we're shooting down our own jets. We are using multi-million-dollar bombs to attack bombs and planes that cost tens of thousands. You know, Israel's air defense system is kaput. They're getting their asses handed to them by Iran, which I think that's fair. You dragged American soldiers into war. You're getting your ass kicked. That's fair.
Yeah.
We
See,
saw it
I
in that
ultimately
video.
do. That's maybe the only thing I disagree with you on. I mean, I just think that it just so happened that American interests were aligned with Israel, and that's what it is. I don't really think Israel actually drugged the United States, and if anything, all they did is offered a convenient pretext for the United States to do what it was already wanting to do for quite some time.
It Netanyahu has tried to drag us into their war forever. And they're one of the secretaries of something, I was catching it here and there on the news, but one of the secretaries of something went back and forth several times before the war started to talk to Netanyahu. And the conspiracy theory is that he kind of told Netanyahu how to convince Trump, right?
Mm.
Do I doubt that American politicians have always wanted to attack Iran? Sure, because they're war-hungry dickwads, right?
Yeah, and that is who
But
I'm thinking of.
yeah, they're war-hungry dickwads. We've got Republican Matt Schlapp. He said that Iranian schoolgirls that were murdered by Trump strikes in Iran are better off dead. That was his response. They're better off dead so that they don't end up in burqas. He's confusing Iran with Iraq. He's confusing Iran with Afghanistan. Matt himself has had several sexual assault allegations brought against him by men, and he has paid them off. What do you mean little girls are better off dead? It's not like you're some holy righteous guy, right? In Iran, women are over 60% of the college grads, and they are the majority of grads in STEM degrees, in STEM fields. Women make up the majority of the grads in STEM fields there. Burqas are from Afghanistan. So
Right.
fuck you. How dare you say that little girls are better off dead? I don't care what your justification is, but how dare you?
I mean, at the very least, at least entertain the notion that it might have just been a mistake or something like that, because it was evidently attached to um, some sort of military compound of some sort. But at the same time, that's even that, which I see as not a good excuse, but at least it's something. He couldn't even bring himself to say that.
I think that they could have continued to hold the wool over the eyes of a lot of Americans if they had just said, "Oh my God, we screwed up. So sorry. Oh my God, that's horrible." But they're
Right, and they
doubling
didn't
down on
even
the fucking
bother.
mistake.
Right, that they didn't even bother to do that. I'm like, "My god, at least, kiss my ass, tell me a lie, make me feel good about why I voted for you," you know? Jesus.
It a doc a doctor from a hospital in Iran that was bombed made a statement, and he was saying, "We had 8 babies in the NICU. We had 8 babies in the NICU. We had 2 critical patients in ICU. We had mothers giving birth in labor and delivery, and we had embryos in our fertility wing. You bombed all that. You intentionally bombed hospitals." For the political group that is all about protecting the children and keeping the children safe, they do a bang up job protecting pedophiles and murdering children. They do a great job with that. I think they're a little confused as to what the definition of the word protect means.
Well, I've come to find in politics, and this goes for everyone, that, what's right for me is not necessarily right for you, and what I'm allowed to do is not necessarily what you're allowed to do.
Yeah,
That's kind of how people operate, just in
do as I
general,
say, not
you
as I
know.
do. Do as I say, not
Yeah,
as I do.
yeah,
So,
exactly. So when I can come across honest, intellectual people like you who, we probably don't agree on everything, but we do find things that we can agree on and talk about and all that type of stuff. I really appreciate that. Uh, because it's like, I am not beholden to any sort of ideology. I'm willing to just keep my mind open and go with what seems to be working in the moment. I'm not stuck in neutral constantly. I'm just
Right.
not.
I want to end with this video because I am predicting that we will attack Cuba maybe this week. I mean, they usually seem to attack things the day after we record, and then we've got to wait a week to talk about it. So
So are they going
maybe
in with
they'll do it.
BBs?
Huh?
Are they going in with BBs?
I don't fucking know because we're running out of munitions. But here's
That's
what
kind of
Lindsey
what I
Graham has
meant.
to say. Yeah. Like, I don't know who this Fox host is. I'm surprised she's still there because she doesn't meet the conventional standard of beauty, yet Fox continuously puts her there. So that's totally not their norm.
Oh,
But
yeah, I don't recognize her. Yeah.
she's always there. Fox in the morning, it's always her. But here's what Lindsey Graham has to say. And I think he might have been the one that was going back and forth with Netanyahu and telling Netanyahu how to persuade Trump.
I'm not looking for a fair fight. If we get in a fight, I want to win it. I want to win it quick. I'm in Miami. You see this hat? Free Cuba. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
The liberation of Cuba is upon us. It's just a matter of time now. You see this hat? Make Iran great. President Trump said the only way to make Iran great is for the people to take over. We're marching through the world. We're cleaning out the bad guys. We're going to have relationships with new people that will make us prosperous and safe. I've never seen anybody like it. This is Ronald Reagan plus. Donald Trump is resetting the world in a way nobody could have dreamed of a year ago. He is the greatest commander-in-chief of all time. Our military is the best of all time. Iran is going down, and Cuba is next.
And then he came all over himself.
Exactly. Like, what the fuck was that? I swear Trump campaigned no new wars, no forever wars, make
Yeah, I kind of
America
remember that
great.
too. Yeah,
I
I remember
thought
that
that's what it
too.
was.
Yeah,
Now
and
it's make Iran
I mean,
great, make Cuba
I
great,
was the sucker who voted for that because I thought those sounded like great ideas. Boy, was I stupid.
and now fuck Americans.
Yeah,
Fuck
pretty
Americans. Who
much.
cares?
Because, some of us are
Trump.
going to die in these forever
It
wars.
happens.
So,
It happens. Death
yeah.
happens. Oops. His bad. This picture came up after they bombed the school. Let me see if I could throw it up. Come on now. That picture was released after they bombed that little school. Of course, it's quickly producing graves for these little girls because in the Muslim religion, you have a very limited amount of time to get a body buried.
And Judaism is the same way.
Yeah, we got to hurry up and bury bodies. This picture is one of the forerunners for a Pulitzer Prize. I am now betting you and all of our listeners, anybody who wants to take the bet, send in a message. I am betting $1 that when they start discussing the Pulitzer Prize for photography and this picture wins, Trump will give a million press conferences about how he should have been given the Pulitzer Prize because he's the one that bombed the school to make this photo possible. He was the one that made this photo possible, so he deserves the prize. Same way he claims that he deserved the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't surprise me, and of course, his sycophants go along with this stuff too. I mean, I'll never forget
Exactly.
after the Nobel Peace Prize thing. These group of idiots around my area got together and decided that they were going to create an American Freedom Prize and give it to Trump. I think they actually got together, spent a whole bunch of money on this shit, and then shipped it to the White House and probably got some form letter back.
Oh,
But
God.
they're stupid. So stupid. That's the shit
They
I
could have
dealt with.
They could have saved their money. They could have saved their money and stockpiled gas because it's going to get really fucking expensive. Or they could have bought groceries.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, or help feed the hungry or something like that, you know? I mean, God forbid you do something like that.
Something. All right, guys. Any goodbye messages for our listeners and viewers?
Just follow me at Midwest Homo 77 on X.com. Like I said last week, I'm a little all over the place. I've kind of really gotten into talking about religion quite a bit lately. Just because now I'm starting to point out some of the hypocrisy within various religions and stuff like that. So there's some interesting posts on there if you guys would like to check that out.
All right, guys, you heard it. Midwest Homo 77. Apparently I'm on X too. I didn't think I was outside of political malpractice having an X and then me posting like our clips and stuff on there. But apparently I am too. So I should probably get a little more active there. But at that lib law student on any social media, because I've got my personal social media all over the damn place. Of course, it is very political, very anti-religion, you know, kind of the same shit that you'd expect from me here. But thank you for listening, guys. We will see you next week. Have a good one.
If you want a second opinion or just something to rage about, hit that button and subscribe. This has been Political Malpractice.